The top 25 player, the 25th player is very creative. His name's LaMelo Ball.
Okay.
It's a big introduction right there. The guy was averaging around 26 and something. The reason why I'm really high on him, one, is he's going to have all the keys to the offense. I mean, this guy is going to have all the freedom. They're moving away from James Bergano. His last name was tough to pronounce. His old head coach that got fired. He was a Spurs descendant. It's not really a good fit with the way LaMelo likes to play. So LaMelo Ball is going to be playing with a lot of freedom next year, a lot of creativity. And I really think he's going to be a 24, 25 points per game scorer. I feel like for a while now, his shot creation from the perimeter has slowly developed. I feel like this is going to break through next year, where this dynamic of his passing and his scoring is going to intersect, and it's going to lead to winning, because this team was a borderline play-in team this year, or was number 10 seed or something like that. And I could really see LaMelo Ball being the 25th guy. And what do you think about that?
Oh, I couldn't agree with more. I told you I like the Charlotte Hornets. They're a really exciting team. LaMelo's really exciting. Like you said, that slow, really methodical kind of pace of basketball is not really his style. We've seen the way he played basketball. If you look at any of his high school clips when he was younger, playing for Chino Hills with his brothers, it's really quick up and down. It's like lightning fast passes all the way there. A lot of that's gonna when they truly allow him to unlock his potential on the court when they give him the keys to the offense, more like last year, but you'll see more of that. That's when you're really gonna see this man shine, in a way that we probably haven't seen before, because he has all this team is so young, so gifted, so athletic. So once they start running that style of basketball, where it's we down the court, okay, we back now this way, okay, boom, 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 you're gonna start seeing it, and it's gonna start coming together really nicely.
Yeah, I agree, and I think another thing that I don't want to not talk about before we move on to the next guy is that ability to pass the basketball like he does uplifts all of his teammates. You can't, I understand some people love Ant, but LaMelo Ball was the better player last year from that draft class still. Because, yes, Ant is averaging more points per game, but his ability to uplift his teammates and make everybody else better around him is so much more than statistical analysis of what you can put into that. So you have to really factor that into things. He's going to lower the turnovers as he ages, but I think LaMelo Ball is definitely somebody that's going to be this top 25 guy. All that talk LeVar Ball did was basically he was talking about Lonzo Ball, but it should have been but my youngest son, I can hype up Lonzo all I want, but I don't have to because Melo's that guy. Okay, all right. There was no fake hype in LaMelo Ball. It gets special. Are you ready to go to the next guy?
Yeah.
All right, this guy had great stats last year. I think it was 26 points per game, 5 assists, 4 or 5 rebounds. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's been cooking on the Oklahoma City Thunder next year. And he's a younger guy. He's going to develop. He's going to get better. He's going to have more good pieces around him. He's a really good scorer. He plays at his own pace. He's really good going downhill, really good passer. And this guy's just going to get only better. I think this is – bless you. He's definitely the star of this team moving forward, and I feel like he's going to be definitely a stamped number 24th player on the list. And what do you think about that?
Yeah, I can agree with that as well. Shai, like you said, he's really, plays at his own pace. He's a really good scorer. I think that putting him next to Josh Giddey and then also adding that Chet Holmgren will really allow him to really, come into his own. Because, the younger the players, the more time they have to develop. And that's a big thing with OKC. Is a lot of the players that they drafted were, okay in college, great in college, but they really just need those reps. That's why I'm glad there's no veteran players on there, because they just need to get, Shai needed time. He had to get to this point.
Yeah.
Josh Giddey needed time. He had to get to this point. Chet's going to need time. He has to get to that point. So the fact that they have such a young core over there, young, exciting core, is going to look great next year. I think that Shai will be the top 24 player, because he's going to reach the next level, because it seems like every year he gets better. and that shows that he works. So he's probably working right now. It's of course it's not behind the scenes because he's not in such a big market. Nobody really knows that much when it comes to him. But we're gonna see him take on a whole nother level of play next year.
Yeah, I bet you 50% of NBA fans don't know he averages more than 26 a game. He's one of those guys that's, slept on just because of situation, but he's definitely, it's a good thing for him. He's made a good career out of himself, and You ready to kick it to the next guy?
Yeah.
The next guy is a guy who was in the playoffs last year, number 23, Zach LaVine. What do we think about Zach LaVine headed into next year?
Oh. Zach LaVine, he just got paid too. So I think we're just going to see a lot more of the same, which is just like this dominant, kind of inside outside, but not in the mid range sense, but more inside the long range sense, and then like just high flying. That's what we're just going to see because that team really fits him well, especially once Lonzo comes back, because that takes a lot of the pressure off of Caruso and those other players to have to make decisions, because Lonzo's like one of the greatest decision makers on that team
in the league.
LeBron's still in the league.
I thought you said one of the greatest.
I said on that team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, so I just see Zach LaVine just doing more of the same. I think he's going to average probably around 28 points per game, honestly. I mean, but the thing is, though, it's can he figure it out with DeRozan?
Yeah, I'm sure as DeRozan ages, he's going to keep on getting more of the minutes and the touches and the offensive system. I think they do need to make things a little better by not forcing him to be in the mid-range. I feel like they did a little too much to keep congruency as a team when DeMar DeRozan was off the floor. I think they need, because before last year, he was a not traditional, but James Harden guy, where it's either a 3-point shot that's contested, but the type of shots I can make, or I'm finishing at the rim, and there was no mid range, and so it's kind of, he was played out of his own game last year. Yeah. So I expect him to continue getting better. He's a worker, man. You can't deny the amount of skill that he's developed over the past 6 years. That's hard work right there. So he should be proud of himself. I think he's just going to continue to get better.
He's came a long way from Minnesota.
Yeah, that's true. Because he used to just be a leaper.
Yeah,
used to be just a guy that finishes around the rim. But now it's secondary to his great perimeter shot creation for himself.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's hard work. All right, you ready to go to the next guy?
Yeah.
The next guy is number 22, Jaylen Brown, NBA Finals guy. Jaylen Brown, number 22. What do we think about Jaylen Brown?
Jaylen Brown, I think, has been slept on for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, last playoffs, a couple months ago, he put the world on notice. He said it's not just Jason Tatum over here. It's Jaylen Brown, too. It's not just JT. We got a JB. Because, man, oh, my gosh. At some points during the playoffs, I was just like, damn, I just need Jason. I was like, Jaylen Brown, get a bucket. Not Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown, get us a bucket. Because he was leading the team, basically. He was the true focal point scoring-wise for that team. They was like, okay, Jaylen Brown get the ball, we all get out the way. Jason Tatum gonna stay back here. I mean, I just feel like it's gonna be just more of the same. He's gonna come more into his own, because he slept on. Be aware of Jaylen Brown next year. Be aware, they'll just, because he gets overshadowed a lot by Jason Tatum, because everybody's like, oh, it's Jason Tatum's team. Jason Tatum. True. Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, I agree, man. Jaylen Brown he's a great shot creator for himself. He knows how to, he's gotten a lot better at shifting gears. What I mean by that is he'll go from kind of trying to slow you down off those first few steps, and then he'll explode and use his athletic gifts. It'll just go by, right? He's kind of really good at that. He's also a worker. He's kind of like Jonathan Kuminga, where Jonathan Kuminga's first season in the NBA, he's a defensive guy, right? He doesn't have much else of a role. Jaylen Brown's first year in the NBA was defensive guy and athletic. And, so he's kept that throughout his career. He's always been a great defender. And he's a key to that team as well from what they do defensively. And he's gotten better as a passer as well. He knows when to take shots. He just knows when to be aggressive. He's definitely matured a lot. And I really feel like he's definitely very deserving of the spot, man. 22 is a good spot for him head into next year.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to kick it to the next guy?
Yes, sir.
Oh, my goodness. This guy is so disrespected. Number 21 is Karl Anthony Towns. What are we thinking about him, Chris?
Oh, my gosh. Karl Anthony Towns is really disrespected. Okay, yes. Look. Outside of, the fact that he's dating, my dream girl, Jordan Woods, that's besides the point, so I don't really like him because of that. But...
What if I told you I have no clue who Jordan Woods is?
Wow. Okay. That's all I got to say. But yeah, so I think that he's probably one of the best shooting big men that I've seen, you know what I mean, in the past couple years. He's definitely in a semi-bad situation because there's no way that he shouldn't be the best player on that team. And we should be looking at him to take those big shots, to make those big moments. We should be looking at him to do those things. But instead, we're like, Ant just came in a year ago. He's our guy. You know what I mean? That's really what happened. It's really, truly, he's very disrespected. I can agree with that. Because they really just was like, I like this more. Move to the side. That's I like pineapples. What? I don't like just water. It's I don't know. That's the best way I can describe it, even with illustrated, but definitely disrespected big man. I want to see him, really, truly, because I know he's in that point where it's I think a couple years ago, I think he had 29 points per game or something crazy like that. It's just I just want to see more of that. Take your team back. You know what I mean, and learn how to flourish within him, because there's they really scooted him off to the side. Was we like Anthony, we like Ant-Man better than you, Cat. We don't want to play with you anymore and throw him away. It was okay, but you look what you put around me. What do you want? What do you expect me to do? What do you expect me to do with everything?
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, he's just a guy stuck in the wrong situation. First things first, last year he should have been the highest shooting guy, the guy that get the most touches. He doesn't get more than 20 touches a game at scoring. He doesn't get more than 20 shots up a game. His issue is his scheme, the way they build teams around him just doesn't make a lot of sense. With Rudy Gobert there now, his stats are going to go down more because they have another center in there, and he's going to be forced to do more perimeter things. And, they're just using him terribly. It's like if the Toronto Raptors would have, let's say, no. I guess if the Toronto Raptors would have had Chris Bosh. Remember when they had Chris Bosh? And they would have had guards, and they would have had a center, and they would have said, you know what, Chris Bosh, we're just going to force you to stand at the three-point line we have LeBron James, Dwayne Wade on our team. You know what I mean? We're going to force you to stand out there. Cat's so much better than that. Cat's so much more grand than that. Cat's an easy 25 and 10. 26 and 10, 27 and 10, if he was used correctly. It's just he just does so many things on the floor, and he's such a great three-point shooter as well. It's just they don't know how to build a team over there in Minnesota. They just even though he might be the 21st best player, his stats are not going to show that.
Yeah.
Sadly. No. So what do you think about number 20? We got DeMar DeRozan.
Ooh, DeMar DeRozan. I don't know what was going on in Toronto and in San Antonio. We saw this in Toronto, right? And then San Antonio was he was okay, I don't know. I'm trying to be that guy, but that's another guy who is just that guy. He's really I don't know how, I think he hit back-to-back clutch shots, something crazy like that. It was we didn't even know DeMar DeRozan was clutch like that. How did you not know? I feel like as he ages, it's going to be just more of the same. I feel like we're not going to see him really come downhill anymore as much. I think he's really just going to learn how to operate really well in that mid range and live within his own game. And that's what's going to make it. That's going to take him to new heights. Because as long as he don't have to like bump in bodies all night, especially at because he's getting older, you just live within that mid range, and then he's going to do great. I think he's going to be another 20-plus point per game scorer next year. I mean, it's going to be more of the same, and they're going to figure it out with Zach LaVine, and then we're going to see the Chicago Bulls in the playoffs again.
Yeah, I honestly disagree a little bit. I think the reason why we saw an influx in his stats was because of rule changes. They came out and said, oh, we won't let any, you bump into somebody's body and you try to draw a foul. We're not going to call that anymore, right? We saw a lot of Luka Doncic and Trae Young putting up all these stats the year before last year, and they had all these issues at the beginning of the season trying to adjust to the new rules. Well, DeMar DeRozan's game has always been ISO guy. I have to sit tough shots in the mid-range. I don't really cheat. It's not like I'm out here like bumping bodies and, faking and falling down. Like, DeMar DeRozan has like a Kobe Bryant-like game. Like, he has great fundamentals, great footwork, all those type of things. And it doesn't matter if the rules are for or against him, he was still going to do whatever he did. So he got a little bit of an inflation in stats because, it was harder to score last year because of the rule changes. So a guy like him became more valuable. So, that's why he is where he is, and that's why I think his stats increased.
Okay.
All right, you ready to kick it to the next guy?
Yeah.
All right, well, the next guy has a lot of ifs, a lot of question marks. If he's healthy, if he really does look like a Zeus. We're talking about Zion Williamson here in 19. The man had like 26 and 12 before he was hurt like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. We don't know what he is. We don't know how healthy he is, but, this guy used to be dominant for like his short periods of time. So what do you think about Zion here at 19?
I feel like the fact that, he's their cornerstone of the franchise. But I can agree with that, because, I wouldn't put him too high because he was out. You know what I mean? So, if his career is going to continue to be injury prone, where he's just like, I'm always hurt because it's hard for me to keep lifting up this big frame. But when he does play on the court, you can't deny that there is talent there. He knows how he understands the game of basketball. He knows how to play the basketball. He can dominate the game of basketball. There's not many players who can but he can dominate the game of basketball if he just slims down a little bit. So I would say that coming into next season, if he could play a whole season healthy without too many nagging injuries that indefinitely or months at a time, then I can see it happen. I can see him going forward and even being coming up into the top 10 projected eventually.
Yeah, his upside is really high because his game is much different than college. When he was in the NBA, it was like he was running pick and rolls as the guard and making decisions and being a good passer and attacking the basket. He didn't play like people expected him to play. People expected him to play like Charles Barkley and just post and, body somebody underneath the rim and use his size and just finish around the rim. He didn't play like that. So he's skilled, and it's going to be interesting to see the way he plays and the way they use him. And, it's going to be very interesting. You ready to kick it to the next guy?
Yeah.
All right, at number 18, we're talking high-tier trade asset here, Donovan Mitchell. What do you think about Donovan Mitchell?
Spider? Donovan.
Yes, Spider.
Yeah. I really don't see him being with the Utah Jazz next year. No. Next season, I think he's going to get traded before that, before the season starts, or he might get traded at the All-Star break. Who knows? But even at that point, we still seen a lot of things last year. For one, I think going into next year, I think it's going to be a little bit different for him because he won't have Rudy Gobert blocking, guarding the hole all day. So it's going to open the court up a lot more for him to operate. You know what I mean? You don't have somebody else on the team who thinks that, oh yeah, I'm the defensive player of the year. I'm better than you, Donovan, but no, I'm the guy. I'm the guy. You have seen Spy Kids.
Yes, been a while.
I think the last one he was like, he's not the guy. I'm the guy. Like he like that's who
I
he's
don't
the guy.
remember it, but it's okay.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, like it's just more of the same, just 25 plus point per game. I mean, he's a phenomenal scorer. He's just going to just go somewhere and just really just truly come into his own more than he did in Utah. I mean, I feel like Utah didn't quite stifle his growth, but the fact that he was just I wouldn't eliminated so many times, we never got to see what his potential truly could become in the playoff setting, because that's when the level of play really elevates. He doesn't have the right team around him. So I feel like once they put the right team around him, we're really going to see Donovan Mitchell really, really, truly hit his prime.
Yeah, I think this guy's such a special player. He's done crazy things in the playoffs, 40-point games, 50-point games. He's a nuclear explosion waiting to happen scoring-wise. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see where he ends up and how he's used systematically speaking, but he's special. So, yeah, what do you think about the 17th guy, another two-guard, Devin Booker?
I don't know. Devin Booker, for me at least, I mean, we know he's a great scorer and things like that, but how do I put this? And I don't want to sound crazy with it. Phenomenal shot creator. I just feel like, with that whole Chris Paul thing, like he elevates and makes the team better. He might like kind of inflated his stats a little bit. Because I mean, like he was already like really, really good scorer, but I feel like just to add it, with Chris Paul, it's just like now he's like he thinks he's a little bit better than maybe what he could be.
Maybe
a little bit. But I mean, with that same team, I mean, you're just going to have the same result. I mean, I feel like he's. What I want to say is that he's like one of Kobe's many proteges, like outside of Jason Tatum, and I just think that maybe he'll just. We know that he's a worker because Kobe wouldn't align with himself if he wasn't. So we should see more of the same. I mean, like it's hard to really say otherwise because he's still pretty young. I really don't see him slowing down right away. So I just maybe a 28 points per game score possibly. It just depends because like. This is hard. Okay, so what I'm going to say is, like, it's hard to judge this one is because we don't know what the team's going to look like next year. Because the Suns was a possible KD trade destination. So if KD comes, he's definitely not going to get the lion's share of the ball anymore. They're not going to, KD's going to take majority of the shots. And then he's going to have to take a semi-back seat. So, I mean, like, I really can't tell you.
Yeah, I could see where you're coming from. I personally think Chris Paul put out their negatives as a team, which was they didn't have the basketball IQ, they didn't have the passing, they didn't have that guy that was the leader to lead them mentally pre-Chris Paul. And I think Chris Paul's rubbed off of D-Book a little bit. I think D-Book understands how to win better. I think he knows when to score, when to shoot, kind of how to play strategically, how to be as a leader, how to, read defenses, how do you lead teammates. I think Chris Paul is really rubbed off on him. And even though Donovan Mitchell might have better playoff stats, for example, I think Devin Booker is the better winner from the two. I think his mentality is just in a better spot. So that's what I'm thinking for number 17. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and transition to number 16. For 16th guy for me is number 16 is a guy who's just in contract issues, having issues contracts wise, trying to get into an agreement, and his name is Kyrie Irving. Now, when we're projecting Kyrie Irving for next year, man, this guy's a 27-point per game scorer. Kyrie Irving's such a special bucket. I mean, he is so skilled on his own team, and if you put him on, like, the Oklahoma City Thunder and you just trade him out for Shai Gilgeous, he'd probably average 30. But Kyrie has his weaknesses. Kyrie's not a good defender. He's not a good passer. He's a point guard. So he's flawed to a certain extent. And I think Kyrie Irving at 16, it's a good example to say that the league's in a really good place. The top 15 guys on this list are ridiculous. I mean, all 15 of these guys are special. The top 10 is special, special, special. So, this is a good indicator of how good the NBA is right now. And, it's just an exciting time to be a basketball fan, and it's an exciting time to be, because Kyrie is just so special with the ball in his hands. Like, all the political stuff, you want to talk about COVID, you want to talk about anything you want to talk about, but you can't say Kyrie Irving is not skilled. You can't say Kyrie Irving does not have an impact on winning basketball, on playing the game. Yeah, it's just he has to have the right team around him. Look at LeBron James. When he was with LeBron, a great passer, a great leader, a great defender. His negatives got overlooked, and he didn't have to carry the team. And, I really think that Kyrie Irving is right about here, because he does have his negatives, even though he is just a dynamic scorer of all time. I mean, he's just so special. It's hard to compare him to anybody else. So then we're gonna go ahead and transition to the number 15th player, the top 15 guys on this board, and the 15th guy is somebody that's definitely having his best way I can put it is he's redeemed his career, and that's Paul George. Paul George had that shot go off the backboard, and everybody was losing their mind. Oh my gosh, Paul George is not a star. He's not a winner. He's not clutch. Well, look at what he's done over the last few years. I mean, he put the Clippers on his back and took them to the Western Conference Finals the year before last year. I mean, he put the Clippers in good positions last year when he was playing. I mean, the year before last year, without Kawhi Leonard, that guy was like 29, 28 points per game. Good passer, 5 assists per game, ridiculously gifted defender. Like, we have to give him his flowers. And just because most people don't understand the fact that because when you have Kawhi and Paul George on the same team at the same time, that they score from the same similar spots, that they don't work really well together. So he doesn't really get the stats. He doesn't really get the rhythm like he should. And that's just, situational problems, but you can't negate the fact that he is a special player as the star. And, he's better than Kyrie, because even though Kyrie might be the better individual scorer, Paul George is the better passer and light years ahead of him defending. And, that type of thing is lead to winning and lead to winning basketball. So Paul George is one of those guys that he's a winner. He just has never had the ability to be on the stage other than when the Pacers were really good. And they were battling LeBron, and he was that guy. Number